Thomas, tell me what your thoughts about your season this year. I mean, the World Cup, you've been training. Talk about how it's gone since the Worlds, and then how you're feeling coming into the final act.
It's kind of been an interesting couple months since the Worlds. Competed, maybe not as much as I would have liked, but there's some reasons for that. And my performances haven't been on par with my World Championship performance, which, there's no excuses for that, but there are reasons for that too. I'm ready to go now. I'm peaked. I'm just ready to go. This is what's next. This has been a marquee event ever since I got second at the Worlds. We knew I was going to be sitting out. We didn't know the process yet, but it's been marked on my calendar, and we just had to wait to see who my opponent was going to be, and I'm ready to go.
This is your backyard. You won a bunch of high school titles in Nebraska. It's not that long a drive to Iowa. You feel comfortable in this setting? Last year, it was your building, right?
Very comfortable. I mean, they were good to me last year here in Lincoln. My hometown's about an hour away in Council Bluffs, so I have a big contingency here of hometown fans and family and friends. So I'm looking forward to that. Just putting on a performance for them, just giving them what they come out to see.
So, because you haven't really wrestled, I mean, you've wrestled a little bit, but like you said, not as much as you would have liked to. When you're a returning world finalist and you're wrestling a guy who's never even wrestled on the world stage, most people would say it's going to be pretty one-sided, but people seem to think this is going to be a close one. Do you think the fact that you haven't been wrestling, that people maybe, I don't want to say forgot, but don't remember, how good you actually are?
I mean, we can't forget that just because he hasn't wrestled on the senior world stage doesn't mean he hasn't wrestled at the world stage. I mean, he's junior world champion. We can't forget about that. So he's a very seasoned opponent, and I don't look over that, not a second. But I mean, I think my performances since the Worlds, people look at that and then they look at his performances. They say, oh well, Gilman's maybe down. He maybe lost a step. He's tripping a little bit, and he's been wrestling good, but. How good are his opponents that he's been wrestling? I don't know. I mean, Tony Ramos is, on his way out the door, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I never thought this was going to be an easy match, whether it was Dayton Fix or Ramos or anybody. It's never going to be easy. Everyone's getting ready for this match, so it's never going to be easy. But
So Ramos has had his hands on both of you guys, and we had a radio show last week asking who's going to win. Ramos says he's taking Fix. Why do you think Ramos? What do you have to say?
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, as Tony Ramos, you're asking Tony Ramos who's going to win between an Iowa Hawkeye and somebody else. Of course he's going to take the other guy, whether he knows deep down or not that I'm going to win. Tony Ramos would rather see anybody win other than a Hawkeye. He's delusional. He forgets. He tries to change history and he forgets. But I mean, you guys got to understand the context of the questions you're asking. I mean, it's kind of a loaded question in more than one way, especially this question here. It's funny. I mean, people are just funny. Of course, Tony Ramos is picking him to win.
Thomas, who are your main workout partners? What kind of athletes are you getting ready with? Who's going to be part of your victory if you win tomorrow?
I mean, everybody. I mean, I work out with anybody and everybody. I mean, I'm about to go upstairs and work out with Corey Clark. He's been a big part of this process. He's been a big part of the process starting 5 years ago. Me and Clark have been through everything and back together with Iowa Wrestling, and he's continued to be a big part of that. Obviously, Spencer Lee, Nick and Chris Dardanes, and every other college guy that's around my weight. So I mean, it doesn't take one or two guys. It takes a whole village. It takes not just Clark and Lee and Dardanes. It takes guys like Sam Brooks too and Bobby Telford. Maybe I'm not working out with those guys, but those guys are moral support and they bring a little bit of levity to the workout. So it takes a village, and I'm bringing that village with me.
Thomas, when we see you in a setting like this, that's one thing, but when we see you with your arm raised out there, you seem fully possessed. What do you do to get into that mindset, to summon the Thomas Gilman that we see on the mat, the one that is highly intense, very mentally tough. What do you do to flip that switch? A mantra? Do you visualize something?
Just getting ready to go to compete. I mean, it's kind of a funny question. I mean, if you think about it, you know, it's a controlled fist fight. It's a controlled street fight. When you're done, if you've ever been in a fist fight, when you're done a fist fight, you're damn possessed. You know, so whether you're focused or not going in, you figure out a way to get focused somewhere along the lines. And then when you're done, I mean, you got tunnel vision. The only thing you're thinking about is ripping that guy's head off. You know, so.
Habit-wise, is there something that you do to snap?
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, mental preparation, physical preparation that leads into mental preparation, and vice versa. I mean, it's not just me; it's every athlete. You know, but I mean, I could sit here and break it down all day, but I don't want to give away all my secrets.
Yeah. Can you speak, going back to training? Can you tell us like what's the most intense thing that you've done training-wise for this matchup? To push yourself. Is there a moment or a practice? You really had to.
It's a little bit every day. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are several things that come to mind, but I mean, why would I let you into my sanctuary where I'm worshiping? You know, when I'm at that, have that ecstasy of that hardest, craziest thing, that's a very intimate thing for me and for people from my program. So, I mean, there's several things. I mean, you figure out a little something every day to push yourself and just do something a little bit crazy, whether it's actually physically or mentally or visualization or whatever.
How much of a role do you think experience is going to play? I mean, he still hasn't wrestled a college match, and you went through Big Ten, wrestling at the world level. Do you think
You keep talking about experience, but I mean, people have been arguing that he's got more experience than I do. So I don't know. I mean, I think experience might come in as far as age. You know, I'm a little bit older. I'm a little bit wiser. You know, in that press conference, you know, if you pay attention to the way guys, you know, hold their composure when they're speaking, there's maybe a little bit of immaturity there, and that's not a knock on it. I'm just pointing out facts. So maybe the composure, you know, late in that match, we'll see how he holds up. If he's got that maturity to hold up.
I think maybe another way to say is because the feeder program, the developmental program, is getting better and bigger, and people are wrestling more. So would you say that it would be, you know, fair to say that even though he's so much younger, but because, you know, maybe he's 5 years younger, 6 years younger, and went through and started wrestling at Fargo, started wrestling all these places much younger, do you think it almost kind of would negate how much older you are, the fact that, you know, they started a lot earlier?
Maybe, but you just kind of contradicted what you just said earlier, right?
Sure, I was saying.
I mean, I'll run around with you. Yeah, I mean, of course.
Well,
let's not forget that feeder program didn't start. You know, it's been in the process for 20 years now. I mean, I grew up. I wrestled cadets, juniors, world teams. I have a junior world medal. I wrestled at Fargo. I've won Fargo twice. You know, but that was years ago, right? Maybe his success has been just a little bit more than mine at each level, and that's why it just seems like the feeder program is so much better now. But maybe it negates those years of wisdom. But I mean, if we're talking about life, I mean, there's no substitute for years and experience and that kind of wisdom. So.
What do you think? Just one more. I'm not going to keep you here all day. What do you think makes him so good? What do you think makes him, you know, what's special about him specifically compared to maybe other guys?
I don't know. We'll see how good he is tomorrow. I mean, like I alluded to earlier, I don't know how good his opponents have been. You know, I mean, everyone wants to make this guy out to be the second coming of Jesus Christ, but I think he's good. I respect him. I'm not saying I don't, but I don't know how actually good he is. We'll see. We'll see. If he goes out there and he humbles me and he kicks the living crap out of me, then he's pretty dang good. But I mean, that's gonna be a hard task to do. I mean, he's young. He's tenacious. He's got a couple tricky things, but I don't know where his fundamentals are. So we'll test those fundamentals tomorrow.
Thomas, you're throwing a bunch of stuff at you. Taking it in stride though. Like, Who are some of your main inspirations, both in wrestling and out of wrestling?
Well, I think two of my biggest inspirations are my coaches, Thomas Taylor Brands, of course. You know, I've grown up watching them, and I've emulated my life around those guys. You know, I want to be just like them. I want to go to Iowa. I want to wrestle just like them. And even today, I want to emulate them. You know, I want to be a man just like them. Just like they, you know, they're developing me to be. I want to be a father just like them. I want to be a husband just like them. You know, because they do it right in every aspect. But beyond that, you know, also my grandfather. You know, growing up with him and working with him and just seeing his work ethic and the way people respect him and the way he stands up for things and for what's right. You know, those are three people I really look up to.
Nice. Another thing, it seems like you're an avid reader.
Yep.
What are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading Last Stand of Fox Company about the Korean War, Chosen Reservoir. Very, very intense.
Nice. Do you have any books you would recommend?
Citizen Soldier.
What was that?
Citizen Soldier
Citizen Soldier.
by Stephen Ambrose, World War II.
I think I got maybe one more. Have you been working with Spencer, and what was the process? I mean, two Iowa guys. Obviously, it was kind of the case last year before the fallout, but what was kind of the build-up with Spencer? Do you guys work out together? Are you training together?
Yeah, we're training. I mean, we got a very close family, close knit of guys. It's different than it's been. I mean, people allude to it all the time. I mean, just because he was maybe going to compete at the senior level, it didn't change anything. We're still working out together. Maybe I might have been trying to work out with him more because, you know what, he was the number one guy I was kind of worried about. If I'm worried about anyone, I'm worried about Spencer Lee because he's pretty dang tough, you know. So I want to get my hands on him and you know, enforce that little bit of big brother, if I have any left, on him, you know. But it doesn't change anything. He's a phenomenal wrestler, a phenomenal teammate, a phenomenal man. I mean, we're helping each other get better. You know, why scare or shy away from each other just because we're going to be wrestling the same tournament or competing against each other today? Doesn't make sense. I mean, we both want to get better. We both want to be world champions. So we just got to keep working together. You know, it's inevitable. We're going to wrestle. You know, and time's running out. You know, for that matchup. So, but that doesn't mean we shy away from each other and shun each other and let things happen like the Ramos Dennis thing. I mean, that's just silliness. That's just immature, I think.